Hey everybody, Gator with E-Cells, e-bikes. And today we're putting together the monster. This is the 3,000 watt triple crown, 1500 rear, 1500 front motor. This thing is a beast. For today's assembly, we will be using our E-Cells Smart Air Pump, a pair of wire cutters, a Phillips. For our Allens, we will use a number 6, a number 5, a number 4, and a number 2. For our box wrenches, we will use a 12, a 10, and an 8. And for the front axle nut, I like to use a 21 millimeter socket because I feel it lets me get more force and leverage than I can with a box wrench. Okay, with this monster here, it's a little bit heavier than the other bikes, so my recommendation on the assembly is right now, the bike will lean into me, and I can support the bike and hold it up very easily, and we're going to need to flip the bike over in order to be able to put everything together. So at this point, the easiest thing to do will be to put the handlebars on. And to do so, we're obviously going to unwrap them. We're going to use a number 6 Allen to adjust the handlebar stem in the upright position. We'll mount the handlebars on, and with the handlebars mounted on, we'll be able to flip the bike over, not have to worry about any paint scratching or damaging right now. The reason I always adjust this stem first in the upright position is it's holding the handlebars in place for me, and I'm not trying to do 3 things at once because it's pointed forward. Just makes life a lot easier for you. Before I tighten everything down, I'm going to make sure that the handlebars are in a riding position. By that I mean my brake levers are pointed at an angle that's going to be comfortable for me when I ride. Everybody's different, there's no right, there's no wrong, but before you tighten all of this down permanently, set it for what you think is going to be comfortable for you. As always, before we flip the bike over, we're going to make sure that this display is rotated out of the way and protected so that it can't be crushed, scratched, or anything when we turn the bike over. Here's another trick for you, especially with this monster. Before we turn it over, I've taken the keys off, and I'm just going to remove the rear battery. Why? This is an extra 13 pounds I ain't going to pick up right now. With the rear battery removed, the bike's a little bit lighter, easier to manipulate. As you see, I have my 2 pieces of packing foam underneath the bike. If you've watched an assembly video with me before, you know I stress the importance of this. Now we can turn the bike over, our foam will protect everything, and we can finish unpacking the bike and assembling. The last of the foam is off. This is a great time to air up your tires while you go through your accessory packages and get all the parts out you're going to need for final installation. I'm using our E-Cells air pump. Beautiful tool. Great accessory to have, especially if you are an avid rider. I've got this set for 19.5 pounds. I'm going to turn it on, and when the tire's full, it'll shut itself off for me and let me know. As I said, I have it set at 19.5 pounds. This is what's in the tire right now, so all I have to do is hit the start button. Well, as you see, the pump shut itself off, and now you can tell what I meant when I said that it'll let me know it's done. Front tire's aired up, so now it's time to finish this assembly. If you got a 3,000 watt this triple crown. One side has the nut and the washer on, and you turn around and go, I'm missing them on the other side. That's what this little bag is right here. Inside, we have our lock washer, regular washer, and axle bolt. Take note. Do you see the way that this washer came pre-installed on the bike? The ear, the tab, the lockout, however you want to refer to it, is facing a specific direction. That being said, you want to make sure that when you put this other side on, it faces the same direction. Because if it doesn't, your tire's not going to sit in right and you're going to have a world of problems. These are downhill motocross style forks, so they go from the bottom instead of the top. And what that means, since we don't have a bridge at the bottom connecting the two of these together, each one can individually turn on its own. We have both sides of the forks and the dropouts facing the same position. Another note, this one wants to go up and down, but this one's stiff. One side is your rebound, one side is your air pressure. The air pressure side has air pressure in it. That's why it doesn't want to go up and down real easy. Where this is your recoil, as you see, it's automatically coming up, and that's why this one will move up and down freely and more easily. There's nothing wrong with your forks. It's how they're designed, how they're made. We're going to remove the brake pad spacers, and those just protect your brake pads in shipping. And now with those removed, everything facing forward in the proper position, we're going to mount the front tire. This washer that we talked about earlier with the knob or the little tab, that's going to face up. We're going to bring the tire into position. We're only going to worry about the brake side first, and the reason being is the brake side is the side with our compression. So once this side is in, now we'll be able to come to the other side, manipulate the dropout in the fork, and pull it into position. Okay, we do have the brake side of this axle in position and locked in, and here's what I was talking about earlier. We line this one up, pull the fork into full extended position where we know it's biting. It's okay if this side is up a little bit higher right now, because now that the axle is attached and we tighten it down, the axle itself will work as the bridge so that each side works together. We're going to use our 21 millimeter socket and tighten these down. With the axle tightened, it's time to hook the motor up. Here's the wire coming from the bike, and here's the wire coming from the motor. If we notice, there's an arrow on them. Those arrows have to line up. If you don't line them up, it's not going to plug in right. It's not going to tighten properly, and you're going to get arcing, and you're going to end up destroying your motor and possibly your controller. One minor importance, when you're making this connection, I'm not using these screw tabs to pull it together tight. I'm pushing it together as far as it will go before I even start engaging. And it should close fully. If you're fighting with it, if it's not closing fully, then you don't have it sitting right and you're not plugged in all the way. We have the motor wire hooked up. Now we're ready to put on the pedals. We'll be able to turn this bike right side back up again, and then we're going to show you how to put this fender on. Your pedals will be keyed. You have a right and a left crank arm. Well, you have right and left pedals too. If you try and put your right pedal on the left side, what will happen is you're going to be putting it on backwards, and as you pedal the bike, it's actually going to come unthreaded. So it's very important you put the right pedals on the right side. R is the chain side. The L pedal, or the left, is your non-chain side. It's that simple. Most of our bike assembly videos, I saved the fender for last. But for this assembly video, while we still have the bike on upside down, I'm going to go ahead and put the plates on that the fender's going to mount to. That way you get very clear shots of how it goes together, what needs to be done, and whether you want to put the fender on or not, that's your choice. But my recommendation, even if you're not putting the fender on, put this plate on. It's going to help prevent damage to your axle, damage to your motor, and any damage to the fork due to the amount of torque and power this monster has. There's this teeny tiny little screw that came with the plates that go on here, and we're going to need to mount that screw. When you unwrap the plates, pay careful note. There's going to be two small black screws inside of the packaging. You're going to want to make sure you pay attention for those. Don't lose them. They drop out. Going to have fun finding them because you can see how small they are. And if you're doing this on carpet, you're going to be looking through your vacuum for these. When you take your plates out, you'll notice that one side is recessed so that the head of the screw will sit flush when it's fully tightened down. If you try and put it on backwards, the screw doesn't sit flush all the way. The head stays up a hair. I have the side of the plate with the countersink facing out. It doesn't want to go on. Why? Wrong side. Counter side facing out. And the long bend is facing to the rear of the bike and the short bend to the front. Quite simple. We have the proper plate on the proper side. Our countersink is facing out so the screw will go in and sit flush. Now it's time to install it. If this screw isn't lining up and going into the receptive hole, you don't have the axle in properly. This screw will not go in if the axle is not sitting in the dropout properly. Now with this screw tightened, we can put our washer and axle bolt back on, and we're going to do the same procedure for the other side of the bike. Okay, in your accessory packages for your fender, you're going to have the fender itself, a set of nuts and bolts, and your 4 supports, 2 longs, 2 shorts. We've already gone over the plate and the 2 screws. You should also have an E-Cells micro air pump, a bungee strap for the back, a cargo net, some instructions, and the 2 little black caps in here are axle caps. We'll show you what to do with those when the time comes. This is a spare safety light. There is no right or wrong place to put it. It's however you would like. You'll also have your tool kit, your pedals, and 2 chargers. We send you 2 chargers so that you can charge both your batteries at the same time, so you can get up there and out there running and riding and have a good time that much faster. Okay, we've got our fender plates on, we've got our pedals on, we've got our tires aired up. About the only thing we really have left to do before we start partying is put a headlight and a fender on, maybe charge some batteries up. We're going to show you how to do all that in a moment, but first I'm going to turn this bike right side back up. Alright, we're going to drop the seat in real quick. Lock that in position. And when we finish these last few things up, we're going to show you that this would be a great time to be charging the batteries. You can charge them on the bike or off the bike. For the rear battery, you just plug in to the charge port, and we'll show you that momentarily. For the front battery, if the battery is in the bike, here's your access port for the charger to plug in. When the battery's off the bike, it's still going to charge through this same spot, but it's going to be easier to access that spot since the battery's not in the bike, and we're going to show you how to remove that front battery right now. We have 2 style keys. One is a laser cut style key, and the other one is a regular car door lock style key. Our car door lock style is for the back battery, and this laser cut key is for the front battery. We insert the key, rotate forward to the unlocked position, and now we have to release the battery with a little toggle switch here, and the battery just drops right out. And here's that charge port that I told you you were accessing to charge the battery. It's right here. If the battery is on the bike, that's why you need to open this up so you can plug the charger in. We're now ready to install the headlight. So we're going to take our headlight clamps and push them in the forward mount position. So what we're going to do is loosen those first so that we don't bend the bracket or anything as we adjust it. We have 2 washers, a rubber washer and a silver washer. The silver washer is going to go between the bracket and the head of this bolt. The rubber washer is going to go between the headlight and the bracket, so that when you tighten it down, this rubber actually works as a little vibration gasket, helps hold everything in place and keeps it from vibrating. If you put it on the outside, your headlight will work, don't get me wrong, but you will be doing a lot of unnecessary adjusting. Silver washers on the outside, rubber washer to the inside. Now we can just kind of bring the brackets together, put the headline in place, and start screwing her down. Our headlight's in place now. We have it sitting how we want, so we're going to go ahead and tighten the bolts for the headlight. And we're going to tighten the bracket mounts again. Okay, we're ready to put this fender together now. Everybody's favorite word, some assembly required. There's a couple tricks to the fender. You have 4 brackets. You have 2 long and 2 short. And the fender itself, if we take a moment to notice, on this side of the fender, it's barely 2 fingers from the hole to the end of the fender, and on this side 2 fingers plus. The long side goes with the long posts, and that's going to face the front of the bike, and the short posts are going to go to the short side, and that's going to face the back of the bike. When you're putting this stuff together, do not tighten it all down right now, because you're just going to have to loosen it up to be able to manipulate things later. Another key note, this bracket has a bevel in it. That bevel is going to face the outside of the fender. For mounting the 4 brackets, we have the 4 black screws. And all of your Allen nuts are going to be for the bottom of the brackets to mount it to that plate we've already installed on the bike. Okay, here's why I was saying you want to leave all these loose. We're going to manipulate the front brackets so they face forward. And now with this little bit of X, we'll be able to put the fender with the brackets on over the tire, and then we'll be able to mount the brackets to the plate, align everything, and then tighten all the bolts. Okay, for mounting the brackets to the plate, you have a nut, a washer, and a bolt. If we notice, this bolt fits very tightly and not a lot of play through the bracket. The plate, we have a lot of play. So that means the washer is going to go to the plate side. You are going to want to put the head of the bolt facing out. With our first bolt in place, hook the fender on. I'm just going to hold my finger on the front of it to hold it in place while I put the nut on the back side. One down, 7 to go. Once you have all the bolts on, nuts and bolts on, then we can align the fender to proper positioning, and we can tighten all this down. The fender is roughly mounted. If you want it further back, then lock it in further back. If you want it a little more forward, push it more forward, lock it in more forward. I've got the fender in the forward position right now, and that's how I'm going to lock it down. We just put our crescent wrench on the back side, our Allen wrench on the front, and tighten away. For the top of the fender, we're going to want to tighten those down too. The only difference is instead of an Allen, it's a Phillips. Not everybody has a lot of finger dexterity to manipulate that little washer and get it on. So here's a trick for you if you're fighting with it or you just can't hold it in place. Just a piece of masking tape on my combination wrench, and now that little nut is held wherever I need it. Our batteries are fully charged up and ready to go on the bike. For the rear battery, it just simply slides in the tray. You have a channel. The battery fits in the channel. Slides right in. Turn the lock, remove the key. Your rear battery is in and secure. For your front battery, make sure you leave this little cap open. If you close this cap now and you try and charge the bike while it's on the frame, you've covered the hole. You can't. The key is still in the unlocked position. This battery will not go in if it's not unlocked. Okay, the key's in the unlocked position. Battery's dropped into the frame. The access port on the battery is open so the charger can plug in. That's simple. Turn the key to the lock position and remove. This particular style, the key will not come out if it's unlocked. The key only removes from the lock position. All right, time to put our axle caps on. That's what those are. One for each side. Now you may ask, how come I don't have axle caps for the front? Because your front is capped already, no exposed threads. The back, this is going to protect your threads. We have our headlight installed and adjusted where we want it. So now we just reach in the headlight, pull out our connection. It is a keyed connection, and by that I mean we have a set of arrows you need to make sure line up. Headlight's plugged in, and the only thing we really have left is turn that display facing forward again, now that the bike's right side up. I think the only thing left for me to do is get a helmet on, go out there and have a good time. Thank you for watching how to assemble the new 3,000 watt triple crown monster. You keep the questions coming. We'll keep bringing you the answers. And don't forget, always wear your helmet.